Hello and welcome to talkBULL, your weekly Premier League darts podcast coming to you every single Friday until the end of May. My name is Harry Durham and with me as always is two-time major winner and former world number one Colin Jaws Lloyd. Coming up, we'll look back on a massive night of action in Rotterdam as Hollywood came to the Netherlands. Who would have predicted Chris Dobey to win his first night? And as always, we'll preview all of the action for next week as the Premier League Darts Roadshow heads to Merseyside and Liverpool. Do us a favour, please make sure you like and subscribe just down below to the talkSPORT Darts YouTube channel. It would mean the absolute world to us. I mean, Bank Holiday, Good Friday, Colin Jaws Lloyd joins me down the line. Hello, sir. How many Easter eggs have you consumed on this lovely, glorious Friday afternoon?
Morning, Harry. None at this moment in time. I'm up in Blackpool at the moment, and it's raining. It doesn't seem very Eastery whatsoever. But listen, give it time. I'm not one for eating an Easter egg, but I might indulge in a bar of chocolate or something later.
Oh, is it ever sunny up north? Like ever? I know we probably have a lot of northern viewers to this podcast, but I think isn't it always true that the north is always just cloudy? It's always sunshine and rainbows down here in the south every single day.
But just remember, Harry, you said that, not me. I love it up here.
I said that, not you. And I do love the north. I love the northerners at the same time as well. Let's get straight into the action. Hollywood, Chris Dobey, top of the range, arguably his best performance of the season so far. I'm going to say it. At points, he almost felt like the forgotten man in the Premier League. I mean, the amount of 180s, 21 maxes across the night. I think 6 were just against Luke Humphreys. 54% checkout rate against Humphreys. Then 2 66.7 checkout rates against Aspinall and Bunting. Very, very precise, Christopher. 3 ton plus checkouts in those 3 games as well. Seems to be having his confidence back, Cole. That scoring power was right there. And if you look at the Premier League table right now as well, there's been another spanner thrown right in the works there for the race for that 4th spot and that playoff at the O2. Didn't seem to have any issues as well with that breeze. 23 gram darts as well, which makes it all the more interesting. We're going to get into the breeze later on because there's been a few statements that have been released off the back of Rotterdam and a certain Welsh wizard who's deleted all of those statements from his Instagram as well. Oh, we do love you, Gezzy. We do. Cole, we've spoken about that 4th spot for quite a few weeks now. The confidence off the back of that, how Chris Dobey will be feeling winning a night in that fashion as well, that scoring power. Chris needs to use that momentum, doesn't he, for next week and the following weeks if he's got any shot of making the O2, because I never thought he'd be in contention for doing it.
No, you're exactly right, Harry. We said the same, didn't we, about Stephen Bunting? He got his first win and we said he needs to win the following week, which was obviously last night. He didn't quite win, but he got himself to another final. So is it a case of that Bunting and Dobey now are throwing their hat into the mix of it all? You know, if they go on a bit of a run each, who's to say? You just don't know, do you? Like you say, we've been talking about this 4th spot now. It's just, listen, third and 4th I think is up for grabs. 3rd and 4th is up for grabs. I think the 2 Lukes are more or less, they're in. They're as good as in. But hey, you never know. It was a great night last night. There was obviously some difficulties or indifferences with a breeze going on the stage and whatever. And our very first game of the night being Dobey and Humphreys. Humphreys, it just looked like he just couldn't control his darts. So there must have been something going on.
Well, what was it with? Sorry to interrupt. What was it with Chris Dobey then? Because everyone seemed to be struggling, but in the aggressive way in which Chris Dobey approaches the oche and throws at the board, do you think he
Yeah.
just combated that with his usual style with the aggressive throw?
Yeah, I mean, he hasn't got a massively aggressive throw, but he's very direct. Whereas the likes with Luke, it's the balance of his darts. They're like front loaded. So anything, and they're a long dart, Harry. They're a really long dart, and he uses a big wing flight. And if there's any sort of breeze coming in, it's going to knock the back of that flight, and it's just going to make it go like that to the board. You're just not going to have any control over it. And I think in some ways, I'm not saying that he did, but in some ways you were watching and you thought to yourself, he's just given up. He's given up. He knows he can't control it. You know, he's throwing for big numbers, throwing for doubles and whatever, and he just couldn't control them. Listen, I think this is an issue. It happened last year as well. And Michael van Gerwen tried to address the issue with Matt Porter from the PDC. And as far as I was aware, it was going to be sorted. But obviously, something else kicked in last night. I can't say or make too much of a comment on it because I wasn't there. But it did just seem strange that a few of the players were struggling with it, but other players seem to just get on with it and go with it.
What can the PDC do to sort of like combat it though? Because the breeze is such a peculiar thing. It could be ventilation. I'm not going as far as saying that some matey boy is out at the back having a cigarette and has left a back door open or something like that. There's a few issues that we've seen with it already this season so far. And you mentioned MVG speaking to Matt Porter as well. Why haven't the PDC... They've had so much time to plan all this. I know there's so many competitions in the meantime, and the Premier League isn't at the top of the pedestal. But why, when you've got so much planning in place, keep it in the Netherlands, of course, because you need one there. But why haven't they sought out a different venue when they already knew that these issues were there with the breeze on stage?
Well, yeah, that's the question I'd love to answer for you, Harry. But the only people that can answer that are the Professional Darts Corporation. They vet the venues. They're the ones that go there and say, yes, this is a good venue and whatever. And listen, fantastic crowd as usual, as what you'd expect when you go to Holland. But you said just a little off the cuff remark there, Harry, about, is it someone just left a door open somewhere? Believe it or not, that can happen, because that's a similar sort of thing that can happen down at Alexander Palace. Because it's such a big, vast building, you start getting a bit of a breeze coming down the corridor, it's just going to keep picking up, and it's going to go out wherever it needs to go out. And unfortunately, I think it seems though it was coming out and it was coming across the stage. As for ventilation and whatever, yes, you need to have ventilation, but there certainly shouldn't be any blowers on. There shouldn't be any air conditioning on or heaters on or anything like that, because that would just be pure lunacy. You can't do that. Everybody knows that you can't have any sort of blowing or any wind sort of gusting, quite simply because it will change the trajectory of the dart when it's being propelled towards the dartboard.
Sticking with Luke Humphries, we're going to get on to Gezi as well, like I mentioned. Should he have had a different game plan? Because it looked like the game flipped, even in that second leg when he missed out on that chance on the early double. And I thought he looked great. I thought in the opening couple of legs on his trebles, Luke actually looked solid. He, had that week off the back of Manchester, and I thought he looked refreshed and rejuvenated. But, I mean... Do you look at other people like Luke Littler, who was bringing in heavier darts? I think he played with some 26 grams last night compared to the 23 grams that he normally plays with. Nathan Aspinall always plays with 26 grams from target as well. Do you reckon Luke should have had a different game plan where he opted? Because they would have known how breezy the stage was at Rotterdam from previous years. Do you think, previous is Luke would have played his first one, both of Luke's played with the first one there last year, but do you think the game plan should have been, do you know what, I'm going to take some heavier darts just in case?
You shouldn't have to have a game plan, Harry. You use what you use, you turn up to the venue, you shouldn't have to be... Luke Littler shouldn't be searching for a set of 26 gram darts. Shouldn't be doing it. He doesn't throw 26 grams, he throws 23 gram darts.
But if you're trying to combat it though, if you're trying to combat the breeze...
Yeah, but this is what I'm saying though, Harry. You shouldn't have to combat. you shouldn't have to combat it. You shouldn't be turning up as a professional sports person to a venue thinking to yourself, oh, what equipment am I going to use? This is why, Harry, but let's talk football terms. I know you're a soccer madman or whatever, yeah?
Soccer.
Who was the last team in the leagues to have an AstroTurf pitch?
As in Premier League?
Well, no, in general. There was 2 teams that still had an AstroTurf pitch that they were just going to get rid of him. You had to get rid of him. I think it was QPR and Luton Town, wasn't it?
Yeah, something like. I swear, Forest Green Rovers have like not AstroTurf, but like a 5G pitch. But that might just be because of.
You can't have it. You can't have it, Harry. You predominantly spend the best part of the season playing in football boots with studs, and then you've got to go to a pair of trainers. It doesn't work. You shouldn't have to swap your equipment. It should be a level playing field all the way along. And it's an issue. The only time they should have possibly thought about that was when the World Series obviously was played in Dubai. It was played outside. And the players knew that, and that's why they took different sets of darts. You shouldn't have to use a different set of darts, Harry, when you're playing inside, and it's the Premier League. Premier. It's down to the bottoms of the depths of somewhere. It's the Premier League. It's a showpiece every Thursday night for 17 weeks.
You say that, but you think about Premier League football and some of the nonsense that goes on there at the same time. I just want to bring up as well other sports like tennis playing in different terrains. F1, some drivers able to handle in the rain, for instance. But is it just something, like I mentioned with Luke Humphries, is it just something that you should train for because, you know, the conditions could be different? We spoke about the exhibition in, was it Dobey, a couple of years ago with Michael Van Gerwen and Gary Anderson playing outside, and they both took heavier darts. But, I mean, if it's in the schedule and you know what's going to be in store for you, maybe. I don't know, it could affect your build-up because, I mean, you get so accustomed to a different, to the size dart and obviously the weight of the dart that you play with normally. I mean, you played with lighter darts during your career, but if this was coming up in the schedule and it was always going to come, why not for that week? What did you play with? 18s?
Yeah.
Why not play with... What? Yeah, still do, but why not? Because you know it's going to be breezy. You might mess up your game plan a little bit, and how comfortable you are. But for a week, just because you might have those problems, train with some 20s or some 22s or 21s.
It won't mess up your game plan for a week, Harry. It messes your game plan up completely. Because, let's look at it another way then. They were going out into that arena. They don't know it's going to be breezy or not. They don't know until they go out there. Yeah? When you're upstairs in a back room, there's say 20 by 20... What darts do you throw up there? Do you practice with your normal darts that you're comfortable with, or do you practice with the heavier ones where there's no breeze? Harry, I'll always have an answer for you, mate. I'll always have an answer.
When you say it like that, it's just a head wrecker, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, like you mentioned Formula 1. If it's Formula 1, those guys know they're racing outside. It's an outdoor sport. They know when it's dry, they're going to be on like flats. And then, if it's raining, right, put the wets on. The only time they have to juggle it is when it's sporadic. Bit of rain, dry, rain, dry, rain, dry. And then you have to keep swapping. My point being, Harry, I know and totally understand what you're saying, but as a professional dart player, if you use a 23-gram set of darts, you should not ever, not once, ever, have to use a 26-gram dart, 3 grams heavier than what you're used to try and accommodate your professional game to a situation. The situation should be taken care of. That's my point.
Sticking with the breeze as well, it's time to get on to Gerwyn Price. Quality smash and grab against Nathan Aspinall in that first leg for the 1-1-2 checkout. You know, from then you thought the smash and grab, guess he's just going to be on top form. For moments, and we've seen it quite a lot from last night, opted for the 19s, obviously because he thought that the breeze was taken away. The 20s, you could see the frustration on his face. Well, in typical Gezi fashion, just like after every tournament that he's involved in, if he wins or if he loses, Gezi always releases a statement to Instagram. And could you believe it, Cole? The Iceman deleted it. But you know, I'm a presenter. I'm not a top end journalist like a Henry Winter. But the journalist presenter in me, I decided to screenshot it before it got deleted. You know, because you know what happens, Cole. Some top dog at the PDC sees that, calls Gezi up and says, delete that right now. Otherwise, you're probably going to have a hefty fine, my son. But this is what Gezi said. If you didn't see it, you didn't take a screenshot, you might have already seen it online. Gezi said this: gutted for myself. Gutted for everyone that supports me. I'm so sorry, but this week was pointless. And we move on to next week. Darts were blowing everywhere. And after leg one, which I was lucky, I knew it was pointless. And where I was in the league, after vital points, it is not what I wanted. Hopefully, at official PDC, we'll now stop coming here and look for alternative venues. Not good for the players, not good for the fans, and not good for people that like a bet. Oh, he's thinking about people and their accumulators. Go on, Gezi. On to next week, where we get to play in some decent conditions. Big, smiling, grinning faces. And then a follow-up which said, and if you think it's the same for both players, you're as daft as you look. 4 laughing faces. I mean, Cole, it's been deleted, but has Gezi got some sort of a point where it's destroying the spectacle at the same time, and we're not being able to see that Iceman explosion on the stage?
Yeah, I mean, in some ways, listen, you should be able to vent your frustration, do it in a professional way, and doing it in a manner that, you know, isn't bringing the game into disrepute. You know, he's felt let down. Luke Humphries felt let down. You should, again, Harry, this was something that was brought up last year. You shouldn't be going back to a venue and venting the same frustrations as what you've done 12 months ago. You shouldn't be doing it. But in saying that, let's not take away from Nathan Aspinall. Yes, Gezi won the first leg, but Nathan missed doubles in that first leg. He missed 4 darts at a double. Yeah, so he could have actually been 5-0 up and not 4-1 up. You know, let's not take away from his performance. You know, 4 180s, a 170 checkout. He played really well.
It was typical snatch and grab. That's what I said at the top. Like, yeah, for Gezi's take that out, because they're 2 of the players that if you do leave them on a ton plus checkout, they will take it. They will take every single opportunity that you present at them.
Yeah, of course they will, mate. You know, this is what's so great about the Premier League. You know, they're class players. We've seen some unbelievable shots out. You know, I'm just going to skip ahead a little bit. That was a great 170. Let's have a look at Luke Littler's 145 against Rob Cross, when Rob Cross has just missed double 18. You know, to win the match. For what was that? Was that a 150?
Yeah, Rob Cross missed the 150.
Check out whatever it was.
Yeah, because what did he do? Go 2 treble 19s, double 18, I think, off the top of my head.
So, you know, listen, let's leave it like this, Harry, where the wind situation and the breeze was concerned. It wasn't great for a few of the players. Other players capitalised on it, and it didn't seem to affect them. So, listen, 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. And, you know, that's I've said it, I say it nearly every week, Harry, I think. That's the loves and loathes sometimes of playing not only professional darts, but playing professional sport in general. Sometimes you leave the venue and leave the space of where you've been competing frustrated. It's about how you push on from that. So Liverpool next week. Let's see if there's anything go on there.
A few people were claiming on socials as well, Cole, that Gezi looked like he didn't want to be there and he was just flinging his darts when he was just 4-1 down. Mardo even said on comms as well, you've got to try. Did Gezi's body language just look completely off of it? I know the whole breeze situation, but the lines of you've got to try, because at the same time you are trying to put on a performance for the punters that have gone there and the punters that are at home, where you've just got to try and combat everything that you're going through on that stage.
Yeah, I mean, I think looking in, Harry, watching it last night, I think for the first 4 or 5 legs, Gezi was trying. He was trying, but then he just thought, Joe, what? I know it's just not going to happen. And sometimes, Harry, you can dig in, you can dig deep sometimes and create something. Gezi just wasn't able to create anything. Nothing was going right for him. A little bit similar to Luke Humphries, really. You know, they were trying different things to adapt to the situation. It wasn't working. And, Harry, frustration kicks in. And there's nothing worse, mate, than getting frustrated when you're playing for your professional career. You're trying to play in front of 12, 13,000 people. And as John McDonnell would say, the millions of viewers from around the world. And when it's not happening like that, and it's not happening not just through your own fault, through you having an off night, through other things, i.e. the breeze, you know, you start getting frustrated, and all you want to do is get off the stage, get back to the hotel, and get ready for your flight to go down to Berlin for the German Players' Championship that's going on.
Munich. I mean, Bayern Munich fans won't like hearing that, will they, Cole?
Oh, was it Munich?
Hey.
Sorry, I thought they were going to Berlin. Sorry.
Oh, you're enemy of the state now, Cole, for getting Munich and Berlin mixed up with each other. You're not going to be able to go there for. You're not going to be able to go there for 6 months. You're going to have Bayern Munich fans on your case. Listen, Luke Littler, we've already spoken about opted for the heavier 26-gram darts to combat the breeze in Rotterdam. We said about that 145 checkout was absolutely ridiculous against Rob Cross. The look on his face as well. We'll try and edit a picture in because the look on his face when Rob Cross almost took out that 150 was a meme. Producer Sue just looked at me there being like, do I really have to edit in another picture on a bank holiday? I'm not trying to give her extra work to do, but I tell you what, it was the lifting of his eyebrows because he was like, oh boy, I am in trouble here, my son. Into the semi-final against Stephen Bunting, didn't seem to get going in those earlier legs. Needed a dart change again. A lot of fans giving him some big whistles, but then from that point onwards was like a man possessed with his new darts. Forced to the side and leg, but couldn't make it happen. Was unlucky, I would say, not to take out that 138 on that double 9, which was right on the wire. It was explosive darts, Cole. I mean, we've already spoken about it, and we've said that Littler, I think in short term, he overcomplicated it last night, didn't he? Far too much.
Yeah, in some ways I think he did, but the one thing with Luke Littler, Harry, that we've seen very, very often is all of a sudden he can turn everything around on a sixpence. You know, Bunty was looking in complete control at 5-3 up, and then at 5-2 up, and then all of a sudden Luke Littler goes 180, 180. That's that leg over. The following leg, 180, 180. That's that leg over. The following leg was a nip and tuck situation. Took that leg. All of a sudden, we got 5-all. He hits a 180 into the side and leg. But like you say, missed the double 9. But I just think he settled to the situation in the end. He was obviously struggling a little bit with the breeze. Hence the heavier darts. I mean, I don't know, come to finish of that game with Bunty, I just lost track of it. I don't know whether he was using the heavier darts or whether he'd gone back to his own 23-gram darts.
Well, it was that period where the crowd was whistling because he was still trying to connect his flights to the barrel. And I mean, he loves winding the crowd up, doesn't he? And I think it's getting to a point now where he's sort of having that battle with the crowd. And you'd think sort of like 14 months ago, when he was new on the scene, especially coming out of the JDC, when he made his mark on the Worlds, I'd never expected him to sort of crack back and be the wind-up merchant that he is now, Cole. I love it.
Listen, mate, he thrives on it. He thrives on it. He thrives on interaction with the crowd. You know, we've seen it when he's taken out the big fish. He out goes their rod and reels it in and whatever, and he loves it. And the worrying thing, Harry, the worrying thing for the other players is that he thrives on it. It doesn't frustrate him. He doesn't get down with it. he just still gets on with the game. And sometimes when you see him, it's just sort of like, looks like he's thrown so nonchalantly. Then all of a sudden you sometimes see him, all of a sudden he just focuses and he holds the dart that split second longer, and it's just, and you think to yourself, you've got it. You've got it, son. And you know you've got it. And that would be, for me as a player, that would be great. I'd interact with the crowd more. But it's also worrying for the other players, knowing full well that he's got that sort of armoury. He can just explode into life, like I said, on a sixpence. And it's great for us watching, but not so great for the players that have to compete against him.
I think armoury is an understatement. He's got bloody nuclear warheads, for goodness sake. Forget about North Korea, Cole. We got Luke Littler, for goodness sake. You're thinking about World War III. There's not just an armoury in some castle keep for some king. The man is he's just fully radioactive. It's an absolute joke the way that he throws. And I want to stick with the crowd quickly. Are we seeing more people sort of beginning to turn on Luke Littler, where, you know, he's giving it back to him, almost like the birth of the Littler villain arc, as I should say? Because I tell you what, we always speak about the lack of characters that are in darts in this day and age. I would absolutely, because you see it a lot. I don't watch WWE, but there's a certain word that they use for it, and I can't remember what it is, where it's like, you know who John Cena is, don't you, Cole?
No.
So John Cena, how do you not know who John Cena is? It's completely beyond me.
John Cena.
Are you trying to wind me up? That's not very nice. John Cena was predominantly always the nice guy, and then he turned a few months ago, and now he's going through his villain arc. I would just absolutely love it if Luke Littler was always Mr. Nice Guy, and then just changed up like that, and was just an absolute piece of work to the crowd and to everyone. And he was still throwing disgustingly good darts at the same time as well. Do you think he could ever...
If he turned into Peter Manley, that would please you.
Oh, my God. Because you know what it is, and I know we've spoken about before, like how Peter used to get under people's skin. And he's probably, he no doubt got under your skin a lot of times during your career as well. But Cole, just for the love of the game, just how juicy it would get if Luke Littler, and people talk about Bristow, when you and Bobby George and Manley would talk about Bristow, and he'd come into rooms and be like, well, I don't know why you've turned up today, or something like that, or there's no point you trying because I'm going to win. Even though it would be so big-headed and so arrogant, I would actually pay good money to see the Luke Littler villain arc.
Well, in some way, he doesn't have to say anything, does he? He doesn't have to say anything. Just him walking in the room, he's got that little bit of villainy about him because he's that good. He's that good. And just with a little grin and a smirk, he can sort of like put people down by saying, with that grin and smirk, by saying, if you really think you're going to have any of this today, fellas, it ain't happening. And that's the thing that would wind you up more, is the grin and the smirk, and not having to actually say anything. And but listen, Harry, when you're that talented and when you're that good, you don't need to turn to villainy because you can just do it anyway, so it doesn't really matter. And I think even if he did turn out to be a bit of a villain, he could back it up, and therein lies the difference.
So are you pretty much saying that Peter Manley had to turn to villainy because he wasn't that good?
You said that, not me.
Oh, you put words in my mouth. I tried to put words in yours. It's just the game that we play here on talkBULL. Cole, MVG, slow start against Stephen Bunting, and 3 absolute stinkers on that double 10 in the third leg. Eventually won the leg after Stephen couldn't clean it up. But Cole, it was a horror show. I mean, thrashing at the darts, the lot. Wrong double as well on the tops finish. He went too early on the Madhouse in leg 7. I mean, finishes on the 19s to take the win. Michael went 5-3 down after making it 4-3. Then out of nowhere, MVG forced the last leg decider. Some real moments of brilliance, and like this whole season, and we love Michael, we really do. He is the modern day GOAT. Just some difficult viewing at the same time. It really seems as if when he was getting in to that speed ahead of the injury, whilst he was putting on his new Winmore shirt, that, you know, it's gone full circle again, and it's the Michael from the earlier stages where he's so inconsistent. And we know what Michael's like. We'll be like, it's what it is, blah, blah, blah. It won't affect him too much, will it, Cole?
No, I don't think so. No, I think, like we've said earlier, Harry, a few of the players, they didn't look interested in being there. They got despondent quite quickly. And that sort of showed in Michael's game a little bit, you know. The frustrations were there. There was flashes of brilliance, and there was some very, very mediocre stuff. And the only person who's hurting Michael is Michael himself, because he has how do you say it? He has targets, and he knows how good he can be, and how well he can play. And when he's not meeting those targets, he's getting very, very frustrated. It's a matter now, really, of how he's going to cope with all of that. We're moving into a time now, Harry. Of course, the Premier League is very important, but we've got a lot of World Series events coming up. When the World Series events comes up, you've got, in my eyes, the second biggest ranked major going. You've got the World Match Play. And in between that, you've got Pro Tour events, you've got Euro Tour events. You know, if you're not going to find form at those for when it starts coming to what I call the big events, like the World Match Play, it'll be worrying times. Like you say, Michael doesn't ever really seem to panic about it. But at some point, I think he's going to have to. He's not firing. He's misfiring. He's had a very difficult last couple of weeks now, through trying on the new shirt and causing himself an injury. But listen, I think Michael. We keep saying perhaps the players need a break. Perhaps the players need a break. Michael is one that manages himself very well. You know, he'll miss ranking events, like Pro Tour events somewhere, to spend time with the missus and the kids and whatever. You can't really do that too often anymore, Harry, because you fall behind, because the other guys are just pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing. And it's tough, Harry. It's tough. It's not like a team event. You can't kick the football to a teammate or chuck a rugby ball to a teammate and well, go on, you have a run. You've got to score it all yourself, and you've got to hit the doubles yourself. And it's tough. It's getting tougher. But that's what makes our sport so great. Because at some point or another, Harry, and I'm not saying this is happening to Michael, by the way, I'm not saying this one little bit. At some point or another, you have to make way for the new talent that's coming through. And as much as it might frustrate you and it might annoy you, and you keep telling yourself, I'm still good enough, I'm still good enough, I'm still good enough, I'm still good enough. At some point, Harry, you've got to show other people that you're still good enough. You've got to show yourself first. First and foremost, you've got to show yourself that you can still compete and that you're still the man. And then you've got to show the fans and the public that you're still the man. Other than that, mate, it starts getting a very, very big, heavy weight on your shoulders.
Did that weight ever affect Phil Taylor? Because if you're thinking about the trajectory of Michael van Gerwen, and you think about the similar pathway that he almost had to Luke Little, and Michael's won every single PDC trophy you probably can win. I mean, he's a 3-time world champion, 7-time Premier League champion at the same time. But with those thoughts, I mean, Michael's now in that period of a Phil Taylor probably heyday situation, where Phil was probably thinking that with Michael coming through. But did Phil ever think those sorts of things? Or it was just a consistent champion for the vast majority of his career?
You've got to remember, Harry, that when Phil Taylor bowed out, he said, "This is my last year." This is it. He bowed out Harry being a runner-up in the World Championship, the biggest title you could win, and he was still ranked number 2 in the world. But he'd had enough. He said, my body's breaking down. I don't get the buzz anymore. I've had my time. I'm not enjoying it as much as what I used to. And I just think I'm not taking anything away from Michael van Gerwen. My God, I mean, the man is absolutely brilliant. And when he first come on the scene, he was Luke Littler. Unbelievable. The brilliance that he showed as a 17-year-old kid. It was just phenomenal. You know, it was sublime. It was a joy to watch, and you think, my God. And this boy, as he was at the time, this boy makes the game look so easy. He's going to be frightening. But anyway, they all got on top of him a little bit, and he didn't quite succeed in areas that he should have done. But then he won the World Grand Prix. He won the World Grand Prix, Harry, in 2012, I think it was. His first big PDC major, and he never looked back. He was that player then that we all witnessed as a 17-year-old. The brilliance that he is and the brilliance that he's got. He's a great fella. He's a great champion. I do feel for him at the minute. But you've got to remember, Harry, he's what, 35, 36 now? 35. Yeah. So he's had 18 years of playing top flight darts, Harry. That's a long time. That's a long time when you're not only battling your own demons, you're battling the demons of being a success and being a winner. And that's pressure in itself, Harry. That's huge pressure in itself. But listen, it sounds like I'm talking about Michael in the past tense. I don't want it to sound like that, because I don't mean that. Because Michael's liable to rock up at the match play and win the match play, because that's what he's capable of doing.
Yeah.
It's just at this moment in time, there doesn't seem to be the consistency that we're used to seeing from MVG. There's flashes, and then all of a sudden, like you said, there's a lot of mediocrity, and we're not used to seeing that. You'd see it for like 3 or 4 legs. You wouldn't see it week in, week out, week in, week out. I certainly hope it's not the end of him, because when he is on full flow, a joy to watch. And I want to see some battles when he's on full flow with Luke Humphries, Luke Littler, Nathan Aspinall, Rob Cross, because that's what we want to see, Harry. That's what we want to see in the world of darts. We want to see the big guns bringing their A game and boom at each other, and may the best man win. And, that's what us dart fans want.
Last one on Michael Cole. Is he going to be at the O2?
Not playing the way he is. He needs to turn something around. Who would have thought, Harry, that, we're 10 weeks down the line and Michael van Gerwen hasn't got a nightly win? It's unheard of. It's unheard of. And that again, that's a pressure in itself, Harry. Is Michael putting the pressure on himself that I can't go through one of these, qualify for the last 4, and I haven't even won a night? I wouldn't be thinking like that. And perhaps he's not thinking like that. Perhaps he's just thinking to himself, let's just qualify, get to the O2, because that's where it matters. Don't matter how many points you've got, how many nightly wins you've got, Harry. All that matters is what happens at the O2. And if he's there, great. If he's not, sorry, that's the world of sport. And we'll just make do. We'll just make do with the 4 that are there.
Listen, Nathan Aspinall, sublime against Gerwyn Price earlier on as well in that quarter-final. Yes, Luke Littler is the best player in the world, and Cole, you've mentioned it already. Nathan Aspinall, on current form, is right up there. He really is. The big fish against Gezi. I say about Luke Littler being a man possessed, but Nathan Aspinall at the moment, there is everything is just going right for him in certain situations where everything that he's throwing seems to turn to gold. And do you know what? I'll be quite disappointed if by the end of the Premier League season, he's not had a 9-darter, because someone that is putting up those high ton-plus averages, those high ton-plus finishes, the Asp deserves to have some golden darts, and even if he doesn't get a 9-darter, just give him some bloody golden darts on merit because he's deserved it. I mentioned about that big fish, it was magic. When there's a bullseye and there's Nathan Aspinall involved, you can put any bet on in the world, and I'm pretty sure 90% of the time, Nathan Aspinall will hit that big red dot in the middle of that darts board. Pro Tour final this week, losing to Damon Hetter. I know he had some fiery words. I think it was because he dropped out the following day. In the build-up to it, he was saying a few unsavoury words. And I mean, he's been struggling over the last couple of weeks with his injury. Went 3-0 to Dobey. Dug deep to make it 3-2, but just couldn't get it done. And like I mentioned with that injury, spoke last week. He's had injections recently because he's been having shoulder issues. He spoke about that ahead of Manchester last week, but it's still causing aggravation. Won't be in Munich this weekend for the Pro Tour. If you're in Nathan's position, Cole, just put the darts down for the week. Is that what you do ahead of Liverpool? Because he's putting his body through a lot at the moment.
Yeah, that's the thing with Nathan. He likes keeping fit, and he likes keeping active and whatever. I know he likes swinging a golf club and everything as well, but he's got to remember, Harry, that yes, keeping fit is great, and swinging a golf club is great, getting that bit of fresh air and whatever. It doesn't pay his bills. He's Nathan Aspinall, the Asp, professional darts player. A 2-time major winner, an all-round good egg, a fantastic dart player, a dogged dart player. And at the end of the day, mate, he's got to do what's right for Nathan Aspinall. Like he said, he didn't play that day because he was still in a little bit of pain, and he done the right thing. We said the thing about MVG when he hurt his shoulder. Obviously, he pulled out the Premier League. But then the following week, he was in Leicester. I was down there for Winmore. And he played both days and was very, very disappointed both days. Perhaps he should have just maybe come over here, just relaxed and chilled out for a few days and just let everything calm down and let it heal itself. Listen, I'm just surmising here, Harry. I can't talk on behalf of them. I don't know how bad their injuries are. I don't know what sort of pain threshold they're in. I just know that when my back used to play up a bit, from when I got kicked by a horse years ago, when I worked on the stud farm, there were times where I just said, I'm not going. I can't go. I'm in too much pain. I'll aggravate everything. And then I used to just end up bent over like that because that was the only position I could be in where I didn't have pain in my back. So I just thought, right, just go and get some treatment. Have a weekend off. I think I said it a couple of shows ago, a couple of pods ago. I hurt my back. I think we were playing in Sunderland, and I was defending the West Tyrone Open Championships. I'd won it the previous 2 years, and I pulled out that night. I run the organiser, Ronnie Boyle, his name was. I said, "Listen, Ronnie, I'm not okay. You're joking, Colin. You've got to come." I said, "I can't come, mate." I said, "I just can't come." I said, I've got to have a weekend off." I got back to Newcastle on the Thursday night after playing in absolute agony. I flew home Friday morning, excuse me, and went straight and got some treatment with a guy called James Davis, who used to look after a lot of the Essex cricketers. And James got me back into place. He said, "No, you're not playing this weekend, are you?" I went, No. And I didn't have anything then, Howard. Just relaxed and looked after myself until the following Thursday. I think I threw some darts on the Wednesday evening before I went to the next Premier League, and that was it. Because that's what benefited me. Players, if they sustain a little tweak, a little injury, only they know what their body is capable of healing itself, or whether they're capable of throwing or not. Listen, Nathan will do the right thing. MVG will do the right thing, or they're going to do the right thing that they feel is the right thing, and it's not down to me or anybody else to tell them otherwise.
I think the thing that makes me sad with Nathan is the amount that he is putting his arm and shoulder through. I mean, he does speak so openly about it, and we don't know what their paying threshold is. But from how open Nathan is about it, I believe him when he says that he's in absolute agony. And the mental stress that'll have on him as well, because like we've already discussed, this is what's paying the bills, is his darts. Massive Nathan Aspinall fan. I love everything that he stands for. I love his ability on the dartboard as well. My issue is that he's 33 and he's going through this. I know he's had his history of dartitis as well. I'm worried that we're not going to get... I know he's been in the PDC since about, 2012, 13? We may not get him playing into his 40s and that longevity. And, I mean, he might have enough money to retire in the next couple of years. But, I mean, it would be such a sad state of affairs if that is the case and he can't play beyond the age of 40.
I mean, I don't know... I don't know how bad an injury it is, Harry. I don't know whether he can have an operation to sort things out. If I was in his shoes, and it would be a case of, right, we can get you under keyhole surgery, a couple of different cuts wherever, I don't know, and you'll be all fixed and healed nicely and be able to throw darts again within the space of, say, 4 weeks. If I was Nathan Aspinall, excuse me, I've got a frog in my throat. I would be looking at possibly battling through the match play, have a good go at the match play, fight the pain barrier, and I wouldn't do the World Series events in Australia. I wouldn't do them. If he's got the opportunity to go under the knife and fix this ongoing problem, I'm not saying he has got the opportunity, and I'm not saying it's something that can be operated on. All I'm saying is, what ifs and maybes? If that was possible, and that could happen straight after the match play, I'd be under the knife. I'd be like a footballer. You know yourself, Harry, in the footballing terms. Right, your season's over. Let's get that sorted, and let's get you built up and pushed in and ready for the start of the next. And in some ways, like you say, the tenacity and the brilliance of Nathan Aspinall, at some point or another, I honestly do believe it's caught up with him now. You can't keep throwing darts in pain. You can't do anything in pain. It frustrates you. You're in pain, and you're thinking, "Why am I doing this? Why am I doing this?" And if he can get it fixed, I would personally have a look at the August time when there's no ranking events on, World Series events. Yes, it would be a loss to not have one of the best players in the world to go showing off and strutting his stuff down in Australia. But at the end of the day, Harry, you've got to do what's beneficial for you. You've got to do the right thing for yourself to help prolong what's turning out to be a fantastic career for Nathan.
He got all the way through that without coughing. I could hear his voice about to go, and he's coughing now. Come on, Cole, get it out, get it out. I knew you were battling with it just there as well. I can hear the voice going. Cole, absolutely phenomenal what you just said as well, and that is some solid advice for Nathan Aspinall. Ladies and gentlemen, before we let you go, the Premier League table is as followed. The boy wonder is still top of the table. Luke Littler at top spot. Luke Humphreys just behind him on 23 points. Luke Littler's on 30, so that's 7 points between the two. I'm about to cough now. Nathan Aspinall, it must be a thing of Nathan Aspinall's name. You just need to cough every time that you see it or say it. Up to third spot, 17 points. Gerwyn Price drops down to fourth on 15 points. Michael van Gerwen stays on fifth, level points with Gerwyn Price at 15. Chris Dobey rockets up the table to sixth on 12 points. Very interesting, that fourth spot for the O2. Rob Cross drops down into seventh. Didn't really get enough time to speak about Crossy, But still, an unbelievable performance at the same time. Just a quick mention of Rob Cross there as well. And that high average of 110. Moments on the outer ring just weren't going well for Crossy, but he is a man of pure quality and will try and find a way to make it to the O2. Stephen Bunting still remains at bottom of the table. 1 nightly win. 5 matches won, 8 points. Night 12, we head up to Merseyside and the M&S Bank Arena, Liverpool. The quarterfinals are as followed. Luke Humphries versus Nathan Aspinall. What a match that's going to be. Michael Van Gerwen versus Luke Littler. That repeat of the World Final. They've had some good battles already so far this year. Michael want to get one more over him after that 9-darter at the same time as well. Down at Cardiff, Rob Cross versus Stephen Bunting. Gerwyn Price versus Chris Dobey, which is going to be a big battle for that 4th spot. Gerwyn Price is going to be needed to bring his A game, and especially in Liverpool. Colin Jaws Lloyd, a very goodbye. Happy bank holiday. Ladies and gentlemen, please remember, if you like this podcast, if you love this podcast, even if you hated this podcast, please remember to like and subscribe just down below. Leave us some comments. Any questions that you got for Cole, and I can read out next week. Cole, do you want to say your classic line of like and subscribe?
Don't forget, everybody, like and subscribe below.
Ah, there we go. For all of the latest Premier League news, just make sure you do what Colin Lloyd just said. Otherwise, you'll have a shark knocking at your door and he will bite your head off. Plus, we'll have all of the commentaries of the Premier League darts next week streamed right here on the talkSPORT Darts YouTube channel. And that's going to be every single week until the end of May. I've spoken so much. It's the bank holiday. Enjoy yourselves. Have fun wherever you are, whatever you're doing. We'll see you next week. Goodbye.